And we're back with another hobby stream. Hello, the Shy Onion. How's it going? Thanks for joining me. Today I'll be continuing the Chapter Command Squad. I got my greens here. Good old reliable Nocturne green and a rather battered Instar grass green mat, but there's enough in here that... there's more than enough anyways. But before I get to painting some greens, I want to do a little bit of green stuffing. These chapter badges on these two veterans need the Firekeeper's tusk added to them, so that they're more in line with the others in the unit. So we'll be doing a little bit of that, which hopefully shouldn't take too long. You picked up 8 free miniatures from Battle Honors. Very interesting. Which miniatures would those be? I shouldn't need too much green stuff. I'm just doing 2 fangs. Kind of prefer it to have more yellow than blue, to be honest. You can always add some blue into the mix if we're finding it's too soft. Stole? I'm not quite sure what you mean. You had your miniature stolen, Shy Onion, or you stole? I would never advocate for stealing miniatures. That's bad. That is never good. Oh, 3 basic bitch Necrons and 3 Monopost Space Marines. And the 2 Age of Sigmar minis. I guess those would be from the old Indomitus starter sets. No, you permanently borrowed. Interesting, interesting. You painted one of those basic Marines as Ultramarines, which looks really good, and you don't know what to do with the other 2. Any suggestions? Well, if you're looking for cool chapters, you could just paint them as sort of a collection of various chapters. Like, why not have an Imperial Fist and an Iron Hands to go along with the Son of Guilliman? A sort of recreation of the Dauntless Few, of Guilliman's most trusted brothers in the Horus Heresy. I think the Dauntless Few were Dorn, Ferrus Manus, and I think Russ. It's hard to recall. It's been a minute since I've read Unremembered Empire. I think that's the book where Guilliman brings up the Dauntless Few. Just Guilliman alone in the middle of the heresy, lamenting being absent from his brothers who he can rely upon. A big sad. This is kind of close to the size I'm looking for. It's very riveting to watch, I know. I can imagine how exciting it is to watch someone poke around with some green stuff on stream. But look, this is how the magic happens, okay? Tremari, welcome. Good to see ya. Good to see ya. You've been stuck in a world by machine spirits corrupted by chaos. Oh no. Oh no. You must sanctify your machine spirit. Recite the canticles. That's what a tech priest would do, right? Okay, that is way too huge. I have to reduce that a little bit. So I got a good shape there so far. Oh yeah, this head isn't glued in yet. It's I thought I broke them. It's green stuff, or blue tacked in there. You know what, we'll just move it aside for now. I need stability. Well, like green stuff. It's a bit overly saturated though, making it hard for it to tack onto the shoulder pad. Maybe I should come back, give this a second to breathe. I guess we can set up the other guy's fang. Well, look, as per usual, as per the usual way green stuffing goes, you make way more than you need. It's just how it goes. It's how green stuff works. I haven't done any green stuff work in quite a while. Maybe it wasn't the best idea to try and relearn how to do this on stream. Maybe it wasn't the wisest choice. Okay, that I can work with. Just kind of use the flat of the knife to make it look a little less natural, a bit more machined. Second, I see some messages in chat. I'll catch up with it in a sec. I'm just doing very particular work here. It's demanding all of my attention, unfortunately. Yeah, I want to get that shovel-like chin. That's evocative of a Cantor. The beast of which my chapter badge is trying to evoke. Okay, I think this one came together pretty well. You know, with a bit of paint, it's not perfect, but with some paint, I think it'll look fine. Rock Brawny, welcome to the stream, Rock Brawny. Say I loved your grav weapon vid, but I was curious why no mention of Votann or AdMech grav weapons. Well, I did consider including them in the script, but I find I find videos that go on for too long don't do as well, unfortunately, and so when I write a script, I do a reread of it, of course, before I record the voiceover, and some things get axed for time, and I figured speaking to Votann and AdMech weapons didn't serve the argument I was making, though the lack of their inclusion I don't think invalidates the arguments I made in the video. Votann's weapons, grav weapons, are a bit better, from what I recall when I did my research for that video, than the Imperial Space Marine standards, as they should, right? I like Votann having superior Xenos, or I guess Dark Age technology. And I still think they're under... I think they still have the same design problems, honestly, that the Imperium ones do. I think they just have a pip better AP, if I'm remembering correctly. Which helps, but, you know, it'd be nice if grav weapons would work against monsters. And have enough AP to meaningfully threaten power armor. In a world of armor of contempts and cover being everywhere. AdMech weapons? Only the destroyers have grav weapons, right, in AdMech? And I think they're to the same profile as the grav cannon on Marines, which is better than the Leviathan Dreadnought for sure. But I think AdMech are they're a weird one because I fundamentally think they are mischaracterized. I don't think they should be a low quality army. I think AdMech should be well, an elite army. A highly augmented group of warriors, right? With the best technology. Rock Brawny says the Votann grav is only better because of Blast. Yeah, Blast does help. It does help. It's a bit awkward in its way. Yeah, I mean it helps you deal with infantry groups, big groups of I guess Terminators, or big groups of Marines, like 10-man squads. You get 2 extra shots, right? That's not too bad. Yeah, there's still an AP problem on grav. Okay, this guy's pad actually turned out pretty good, I think. Just try and stretch this back a little bit so I can, hopefully it blends pretty seamlessly to the badge once it hardens. Now I hope I don't smush these as I'm trying to paint them. I tell you, when I did that Tyrannifex, there was a lot of smushing work that was recently sculpted. Very frustrating. Tramari says, I know you prefer the sculpting method for your chapter icon, but I think custom transfers could help. especially for large vehicles like dreadnoughts and carriers. Yes, I 100% agree with what you're saying, Shamari, and I recall, I think it was you who sent me a link to a retailer who would produce custom transfers. And you know what? If I could go back in time, I would. I'd probably decide, you know what? I want to have custom transfers. Let's order a couple sheets, right? But things are the way they are. I've already done things, and I don't feel like redoing them, so... You know, some units have sculpted pads, some units have, well, I don't have any here, but decals with just painted in fangs. And that's probably what I'll do for this lieutenant. Oh, I do have a weapon update for him, which I'll share with you guys later, but we're green stuffing right now. But yeah, I don't think... Well, it's not that I don't think. I definitely don't want to be redoing shoulder pads for a whole army, unfortunately. I think also producing an STL, a custom chapter badge STL, or a shoulder pad, would be very helpful as well. If you know you're going to go a successor chapter route, or, I mean, you can make that argument for Ultramarines even. I want to start an Ultramarines army and have all custom shoulder pads, but I don't want to buy a million GW overpriced upgrade sprues. So I'll just buy an STL of their chapter badge shoulder icon. Yep, it would save a lot of work too. I don't hate sculpting. It's kind of therapeutic in the same way like painting or drawing would be, but when it's cooperating, right? Sometimes depending on what you're doing, it can be very uncooperative. But for stuff like this, it's pretty chill. Yeah, that pad isn't glued in either, it's just blue tacked in, which probably wasn't the best idea. I think we'll be okay though. I say that. We'll see. I think there's just too much material on this one. Votan Grab is also AP 2. Yeah, it sounds about right. I do recall the AP being a pip higher than normal. Which helps, right? And I think they should have better AP. But Votan, like AdMech, I don't think should be a... I think they should be an elite army. I don't think you want them to be an average skill army. It feels as though GW overcorrected in 10th edition from all that negative backlash they got from overpowering them at launch. I think this should be adequate. And once the green stuff cures, I find you can actually go in there with a fairly sharp knife and even do some reductions and reshaping once it's hardened, and it is much more friendlier to cut without getting just smushed out of shape. It's so funny. It's fighting with me. We'll make it work. We'll get it to cooperate. Also, as time goes on, it'll be curing over time, right? As soon as you start mixing the two halves of your green stuff. And I find depending on what you're sculpting, you want to wait longer or shorter. But I can't remember my feelings on that equation. It's been so long since I did any green stuff projects. Kind of scared myself away from it after the turn effects. Oh, no problem, Rock Brawny. I just saw your message now. All I said about Votann being overpowered in 9th was I think their State in 10th edition is a little underpowered in response to Votann being so overpowered in 9th. And all that negative feedback GW got. And I think they overcorrected. But that's kind of GW's MO. They do a lot of overcorrecting. A lot of... Oh, that's too powerful. Let's nerf it on 3 different layers of efficacy. Then all of a sudden it's overpowered to garbage tier. So, what are all of you guys working on? Give me some of your... Share with me your hobby projects so that I may feed off of that hobby camaraderie. I think those should be sufficient. I don't think the chapter badges will necessarily be a feature that draws the most attention on either of these guys. Certainly not on the heavy bolter guy. Weapons generally steal the attention, as do faces. Okay, so wasted a good amount of green stuff. Maybe we can put this on. on something. Here's what we're going to do. I'm just going to cover up that hole for now. And if there's something that comes up that we need, we'll pull from there. Cool, 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 cool. Alright, we can get to painting. These heads, do they need to remain in sub-assembly? Probably not. This guy's arm comes off, I think. It should. Yeah, it does. There's a peg. It's that easy-to-build Leviathan guy. So that'll make painting his chest a bit easier. This guy's glued together, but the shoulder pad is tacked in there. So we'll do a bit of glue in and then get to painting these boyos. Tony the Person, welcome. Welcome to the chat. I saw a very cool old One-Eye Kit Bash video, so I'm doing that. Nice! An old One-Eye Kit Bash. Is it an old One-Eye built off of the new Screamer Killer, by chance? That is something I considered. But I decided to move away from Carnifexes for Highfleet Gengar. I don't think it's the path. I don't think it's for them. I think if it was a different sort of Highfleet, I'd be much more leaning into the Carnifexes, but I do not want it. I want a very particular... I don't want that army to be huge. I want a very particular, concise, kind of thematic Tyranid army. And that's it. Okay, so let's get this stuff out of here. Oh god. Now we got a huge problem. Oh, this is kind of grossing me out a little bit. How am I supposed to get this out of here? Maybe we can pull it out with more blue stuff? Is it working or is it just getting worse? Okay, I think it's working. But some of it got stuck in there. Well, I think it's there forever. Tony the Person says, yeah, new Screamer Killer body. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Old One-Eye deserves to be a big boy. A big boy Carnifex. He should be intimidating, right? Jeez, have to be very careful with this. Or else we'll smush it. So, kind of interesting, guys. Kind of interesting. I played a game of one-page rules yesterday. I'm doing a bit of dabbling on the dark side. Or maybe it's the better side? I have some feelings. I only played a 1,000 point game. And everything was kept relatively simple. I didn't do any psychics. I didn't take any psyker units or casters, as they call them. But I like... I think I like it better than normal 10th edition. I'm not sure, like it's a little, because I'm new to navigating that rule set. I'm not sure if there's like thematic ways to represent salamanders or salamander successors. Like, I couldn't really find any rules for sub-factions, if you will, in that sense. But even just playing basic Battle Brothers, the interactivity, the lack of dead time is certainly a plus, way better than 40k. And the certainty of movement is just chef's kiss. Like, imagine playing in a world where you don't have to roll, you don't have to advance and just roll a 1. You just, if you want to advance, you go 12 inches, just flat. It's kind of wild in that sense. And just being able to appreciate, again, like, certainty of movement is just so satisfying in that way, as a contrasting feature to normal 40k. Does one-page rules have Votann? They have Space Dwarves, but I didn't take a look at the units it contains. For the most part, in one-page rules, there seems to be very obvious equivalents for most 40k units. Not all, and you can do some proxying, of course, right? But from what I gather, one-page rules does have their own model range, and I wonder if they have more Space Dwarf units than GW has Votann units. That'd be interesting to verify. But there should be something there for your Votann, and I think it'd be fun to try. I played the game with my buddy Melon, and we're planning to do another game probably next week. It's still small size, like 1,000 points, but we're gonna try. He's gonna play, I can't remember what they call them, but they are equivalent of Genestealer cults, like infected cultists or something. They all have names like that. Not quite. Close enough, but not exactly. Like the Eternal Dynasty for what could possibly, if you wanted to, count as Necrons. And I'll be planning to play the my Slaanesh Demonettes. And I think it'll be very cool because they actually have flying Demonettes, which is something I kit bashed in 8th edition because I could use Furies back then, and I thought it was the coolest to have these kind of like Harpy type Demonettes. That felt kind of in line with the Slaanesh sensibilities, right? From a design unit collection point of view. And then that was since removed from being an option because no respect for the things people build for the game. So I'm kind of jazzed to try out the Lust Demons, as they call them. Okay, his head was the one with, yeah, the one with the islands. The one with the eyepiece. Oh, it's a bit crooked. Cool. That's looking fairly aligned, right? He's looking where he's shooting? I think so. This guy is a little hard to tell because I kind of removed his gun. I think a slight tilt is... Oh, I see. I'll twist that a bit and it should be okay. Cool. Alright, we'll get to painting now. Let me catch up with chat. Rock Brawny says, guess what army I play. Leagues of Votann, if I had to guess. But that's I'm not exactly what you would call a hater of Leagues of Votann. I kind of appreciate them, and if Kill Team is everything I want them to be, I will definitely get a batch of Hearthkin Warriors. I think that's super cool. I just love the Votann weapon aesthetic. I think GW nailed it. And they didn't make their physical aesthetic, like their power armor, their body is overly cool, right? So I think the weapons really shine in that regard. And you don't want, like, Space Marines are already too cool. In that they're a faction of just like, you know, if there's a gauge of how cool something is from a design point of view, it seems like Space Marines are designed to just be maximum cool in terms of weapons and armor and, you know, posing and stature and all of this. But Votann has peak weapon aesthetics, I think. Rock Brawny says because they also tried to do old squat models, so there is from both ranges. Oh, interesting. Well, I don't think that's a bad thing. Supporting the older ranges, that sounds like exemplary behavior. Okay, so we're gonna start blending. Well, we'll put down some Nocturne Green and start creating a blend to Grass Green Matte. So, as this Nocturne Green is drying, seems like it's more or less the same as what was spat out of the airbrush. So, I guess we can start mixing in some grass green matte. So, how do we want this to blend? We want lighter colors here, we want to dark on the knee pad, and so we want lighter colors here as well. Probably the raised center of the foot. So we'll put green here and fade to Nocturne Green towards the edges. That makes the most sense. Could do the soft seals first. Best to always paint inside to outside. This knee pad will probably be white. Yeah, the rest of the command squad has the kind of sergeant white knee pads that I've been applying to all senior sort of members of the Firekeepers, so we'll keep that consistent. Shit. What did I just say? Jesus, the autopilot is real. I'm trying to eraser brush that. How embarrassing. Oh God. What kind of show am I running here? Some green on the wrists, but the rest of the arms will be making black. Oh, you know what? I should check for gaps in those arms that I... So I did some cutting and gluing of the arm joints for these two veterans, and I recall there might have been some gaps, which could use some green stuff maybe. There's a small gap in there underneath. The wrist seems okay. How about this guy? Wrist is also okay. Well, there's a bit of a gap here, but I don't think it'll actually be visible because the inside of the arm will be butting against the torso. Okay. Nothing crazy, but I'm sort of glad I checked anyways. So we'll grab a little bit of this stuff and shove it up and under there. Yeah, that should suffice. I find with these Instar paints, you can really build up your layers gradually, and it doesn't seem to apply too thickly, which is nice. Well, I guess by that same token, it could be found to be kind of frustrating to work with if you're trying to just apply one thick coat contrast style. Let's start layering some green here on the back of his thigh, but it's a bit watery. Perhaps too watery. I don't know. well, let's try blending in some this Ogryn camo. See where that ends up aesthetically. So I'm not loving the range I'm getting here. Although I suppose in fairness I should. At least apply a pure layer of Instar and see where that lands. Just mixing a touch, just a touch of Ogryn camo with that Instar. I'm a little scared to wield such power. Christopher Dempster, welcome to the chat. I see your message. Well, I just saw it now. Apologies for the delay. I was too focused. You say, at What the 40K, do you have any recommendations on how to remove parts from pre-built models, as I have ordered a lot of custom parts for my Ultramarines, but will be replacing heads, shoulders, and torsos? Replacing torsos on Primaris models, if they are, can be a problem because they're all mono. Often torsos are attached to the bodies in a way that's not as friendly to replace as it is with the old tactical bodies. Unless that's what you're converting, which then you should be fine. As for removing heads, if you don't care about damage, I guess I could demonstrate. Well, I won't actually do it. I find if you take your clippers and just wedge it under, trying to be mindful of not damaging the gorget, you'll just cut into the head and just kind of yank it out and you'll damage it. But if that's not an issue, that's a pretty easy way to remove it. Everything but like the strongest of applications of plastic cement will come apart from that method I've found. I tell you that if you pile on that plastic cement, it gets a bit too powerful. Shoulder pads, probably can use the same method again if you don't care about damage. You can try for super. If you've used super glue, leaving your model for a few hours to cool in your freezer should weaken the super glue bond considerably, which should allow it to come apart with a bit of force. That won't work for plastic glue, though. I don't believe plastic glue would be impacted by anything else like a soak in a super clean or alcohol bath or something like that, something more intense. What would you say is the best method without damaging the model? Well, the clipper method would only damage the parts you're removing. If you need to keep those parts pristine, that becomes a bit difficult. If there's been too much glue applied beforehand, it's almost... I've had great difficulty avoiding damage on parts that were affixed with too much glue. Hopefully that answers your question. Feel free to ask follow-ups if I fail to answer with clarity. Okay, so that's looking closer with the Ogred mixed in, closer to the color range I'm seeking. Oh man, those Resident Evil save room tracks. So good. Just the moodiest. Man, that was over quick. I feel like they could have extended that one for a few minutes. Tall Giraffe, welcome to the chat. Something to watch as you paint your blood ravens. Oh, excellent, excellent chapter. Gotta love some blood raven action. No, I appreciate you tuning in and sharing in the hobby camaraderie. Paint's running a little thin. Feels like I might have to add some glazing medium to this mix. Which is interesting. I haven't painted any of the Firekeepers with since I've acquired the Vallejo glazing medium, so maybe it's time for a bit of experimentation. Christopher Dempster says, do you think they will be creating new versions of Gravis units for other units like Lieutenant, Techmarine, and Librarian in Gravis, or Hellblasters type of thing? I think a Gravis character is more likely than another Gravis Hellblaster. A Gravis... Well, the only Gravis characters we have are a Captain and that Apothecary, right? If I'm not mistaken. It's very awkward. Like, they've created a rules paradigm where you can only attach leaders with the same armor type. For Space Marines anyways. Other factions just completely ignore the consistency rule. But that being said, or that aside, it is awkward that your Gravis leaders, like, Chaplain can't help the aggressors because he doesn't have the right armor type. Like, it's kind of annoying. So maybe there's a bit of justification there, but I don't feel like GW creates units for rules. I think they create models, and it seems to be the case the rules writers have that thrust upon them, and they have to kind of manage and incorporate whatever they're given. That's my impression of how things go anyways. So I don't think there'll be any Gravis Hellblasters. I think you're more likely to get another Gravis. Well, I guess in order of sequence, you're probably more likely to get a Gravis unit, and maybe a Gravis character, and then something like a Gravis version of a pre-existing unit I think is very unlikely, personally. Like Hellblasters, like you in that example you gave. Though for characters, like, kind of hurting not to have a lieutenant without a jump pack, I think that's more of a priority. Which is super lame. Because you think he could just go to the armory and strap one on. But yeah, that's a different conversation, I suppose. Fist have a Gravis character as well. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Imperial Fists and Iron Hands have a Gravis named character. Tall Giraffe is correct. I was thinking named characters aside. Yeah, Calgar is also Gravis, also a Gravis man. You could always play one-page rules instead. Funnily enough, Tall Giraffe, I played my first game of one-page rules yesterday, and I guess I'm starting to believe. Is the takeaway there? Very fun. Seems almost immediately, I'm encouraged. I'm encouraged is what I'll say. I'm sure there's many facets of the game I have yet to experience. Because I only played a 1,000 point, kind of very simple, just a basic mission type. But a lot of older edition 40k vibes from that experience, and the certainty in movement is just chef's kiss. Like, it's like I'm probably gonna play. I often go to my local game club on Sundays and get a game of 40k in, and I feel like this week I'm gonna be a bit sad because I'll just be thinking of one-page rules the whole time. We'll see. I want to give Kill Team a fair shake, but if it fails to satisfy, if there's too many feel bads from official offerings, then why bother stick with it, right? Just go with one-page rules. I immediately got the impression that making things like thematic battle reports from using one-page rules would be much easier, much more friendlier to execute from a content creation point of view than standard 40k games. So yeah, I was very encouraged by that one-page rules test game. Welcome, DS. Hey all, you heard Horse Heresy is apparently getting a new edition? No way, DS. Get out of here. Actually? Actually? That's too soon, right? Isn't it? When did... Oh, Age of Darkness was what? It's been a few years. I guess it's... Oh my god. I guess we are at that 3-edition cycle, or 3-year cycle that GW wants for editions, but... I don't know. Feels a bit sour, if you ask me. I'll have to run that question by the outer circle and see how he's feeling on the matter. Calgar can join any Tacticus or Gravis unit. Yep, I think so. Calgar has the... I don't know why. It's because he's the best. It's weird. Maybe because he has Tacticus models in his unit via those Victrix bodyguards, but that's such a lame reason. Unit leadership capacity should not be based on models in the unit or the armor mark, because it's very awkward when that consistency isn't followed for things like World Eaters, in my opinion. Does one-page rules have actual rules for all the 40k units? I cannot confirm. I did a little bit of browsing on a few of their factions, and it seems like there's very obvious ones you could connect, but I suspect there are some omissions. Because there are a lot of units in 40k, especially for Space Marines that probably have a lot of overlap. Right, like quite a few of the Primaris units could just be like a specialist squad. Like a Tacticus specialist squad, and that could be either all Hellblaster Infernus, or either all Hellblasters, or all Infernus. And it could just be like one type of weapon, and you just do that with every special weapon option, and then, I mean, GW wants to sell different kits for each one of those, but personally, I think it'd be like Horus Heresy style. Should be a special weapon team. Giraffe says, my only issue with one-page rules is the lack of hazardous weapons. Interesting. Yeah, I didn't take any plasma, so I didn't notice, but that is a odd omission. I guess your plasma's just very reliable. Which might be okay for some people. It might not. It might even be a plus. Some people, I could imagine, love the idea of glowing plasma weaponry, but I hate that it blows up and does damage to themselves. I'm sure it'd be easy enough to house rule in a hazardous rule. Hey, welcome to the chat, Warpforge. Good to see you. They have a points calculator. Indeed, they do. That is another awesome plus, man. You go to that one-page rules website, and you can just build lists right there immediately, and it's all the rules are right there in their points calculator. You can build a list, get a printer-friendly PDF. Like, oh man, it's the way. It is the way. DS is tempted to write a massive PDF for 40k factions using Horus Heresy rule set. It would be very easy to convert units across. Yeah, Horus Heresy is built out of the 7th edition rule set, right? Am I misremembering the editions? So it seems like you could easily enough adapt them. That'd be a pretty cool project. That would be pretty cool. Here's a question for chat. Now that we got a few more people in here. A bit of a stronger hive mind, if you will. Regarding one-page rules, is there a PDF hidden somewhere on that website where I can find rules which add sub-faction flavor in the realm of, like, you know, Salamanders, Iron Hands, Crimson Fists, etc.? I don't believe so, but it might just be the case that I didn't, I just couldn't find it. Warpforge says, no, one-page rules writer really doesn't believe in some factions, hence why his Dark Mechanicum no longer exists. Oh, interesting. Well, just thought I'd ask. Not the biggest deal breaker. It's easy enough of a thing to house rule in, honestly. I'm not going to say I'm jumping ship to one-page rules just yet, but recent experiences leave me encouraged. Okay, let's get some green under here. Just splash it in there. I don't think that matters too much. Just want to add a bit of color. Warpforge says I wrote a ton of subfactions for Chaos Space Marine back in the day, and also Black Templar. Very cool. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Why not, right? If it's something you and your play group, or even if it's just you that you desire, because from what I can tell, One Page Rules also has rules for solo play. I haven't looked into it, but just do whatever you want at that point, right? If you're playing a PvE type game mode with one-page rules, and you want to add some sub-faction flavor, it's your gaming table, right? Put some green up here. Yes. Brother of Titans, welcome to the chat. Love me, brother, is what you say. Well, I don't know. Can't just dole out unconditional love. It's kind of a pretty big ask. Not sure if I can just do that on a whim. Okay, let's get some trim. Some shoulder pad trim greens in here and start adding some gradients on here. Where do we want the gradients? Probably we have light here, dark here, so probably light here. Then dark and then light again. DS says having look at one-page rules, don't see rules for named heroes. There are not any, no. Yes, that's an interesting observation too. No named heroes. Which could be a deal breaker for some, I suppose. I realize I've been ignoring these weird little rectangular buttons. It's okay, we'll come together, you know. You gotta go component by component, laying down the foundation, building up those tones, and then eventually, after much effort, maybe too much, it comes together. Probably should have done something to this guy's heavy bolter to make it a bit more special, but I don't know, I didn't want to just copy the jaw I strapped to the heavy intercessor I did. It's kind of fun having odd models in your army with unique accessories and modifications to their weapons. I think it makes them feel a bit more artisan. Get more Ogryn camo in the mix. Oh, Bolter. Jeez, my dyslexia, Brother of Titans. My humblest apologies. Anyways, what does DS say? I used to be such a dedicated 40k player before COVID threw my routine off. I even beat a bunch of Team Canada players when they visited the UK on their way to ETC a few years back. Well, that is quite the feat, DS. Quite impressive. I miss 8th and ninth editions. Yeah, I miss aspects of those editions, mostly the options and how you got to customize your army. I prefer 10th edition's mission structure more than ninth. I think I think I'm pretty confident in that. I didn't like having to build a list with fixed secondaries in mind. You know, people building lists with, oh, I'm taking X amount of action monkeys so I can ensure I can do the raise the banners action all 5 turns, like that kind of. I didn't like what that did to list construction. Brother of Titans gives the sunglasses and thumbs up. I appreciate it. So it's taking quite a bit of time to build up these greens. I guess that's just how it goes. This guy's not as far along as I would like for how far we are into the stream. Though we did spend a bit of time green stuff in the beginning. Okay, put some green here and layer it up towards the middle here, and let's get back to this Gorget. Gorget or Gorget? That's the real question. It's one of these words you always see, but you never hear being said. Yeah, I think that amount of yellow from the Ogryn camo is the right amount. Gorget. Alright, we got 2 for Gorget. Chat has to create it. Maybe that would have been worth a poll. Probably not. The chat isn't that big. Look, you apply this grass green mat haphazardly, and it looks so vibrant. And by the time it dries down, it really loses its potency, which I think makes it great for layering, but definitely an odd paint quirk compared to something like Scale 75 paints. Patricia Benjamin, welcome to the chat. How's it going? Howdy to you too. We're out here. We're all grinding that hobby life. I think this veteran battle brother, I guess he's a company veteran. Thinking back to how the old command squad was formatted, he would be a company veteran. I think he's coming together. I gotta layer a little bit of green on the back of this gorget. I almost forgot the backpack ring needs to be hit with some green. That is a thing I do for this army. That reactor ring. Working on Necron Fun Boys, eh, Patricia? So much greed. That we... Yeah, well, you know, you gotta enjoy the hobby grind, I think. I think if you don't, it leads to much despair. I have a few buddies who are definitely more game-oriented than hobby-oriented, and it's a begrudging task when they have to... It's like they have homework. Like, oh man, so much to do. I'm gonna leave it for the last minute. And I don't think that's a place you want to be, especially before an event, which tends to be the case for some of those guys. I think you're better off to chip a little bit every now and again and enjoy the process. Which I suppose you can't just force yourself to enjoy something, but then you have to either come to terms with that or realize that this hobby might not be best suited for your sensibilities. Okay. Greens are nearly in place, so we're going to get at least a pretty decent before and after photo for this one. Though, probably have to do the face. That's probably crucial. Probably shouldn't leave that for for last. Francois, welcome. Welcome to the stream. Good to see you. Six tactical squads might be more... 6 tac squads with Razorbacks might be more viable than people would think. Perhaps. I just wish I could put all sorts of Marines into Razorbacks and Rhinos. I have a Razorback I put together. A Laserback, if you will. And it's lame that I can only put tactical Marines in there. Or even Rhinos, you know? Put 10 Hellblasters in a Rhino, you know? Why not? Why not? They're just Marines. It's crazy to me. Ooh, that's a bit too strong. Let's rein that in a little bit. It's too much. Patricia Benjamin says, there's this YouTube creator called There I Ruined It, who makes odd songs, but he made one about if John Denver sung War Pigs by Black Sabbath, and I can't get out of my head. That's certainly an odd pairing. Yeah, I mean, earworms are a thing. They can be difficult to break. So let's just slap some green onto this, the upper back area of the torso. Okay, pretty decent. This leg is lacking paint, but it should be manageable. It's wrapped in a purity seal in a very odd way. It's kind of a cool detail, but it's really obscured in this model because of that big old heavy bolter. It's like a purity bandage. So let's get some Ogren and grass green, or bright green, onto the pack. Just brighten up that corner a little bit. Okay. Well, at least the greens will be done. Well, done-ish. I need to edge highlight at some point. Maybe we'll edge highlight the whole squad on one stream. We'll treat it that way. You're off, Warp Forge? Well, if you're still in chat, let it be known that I wish you a good night and farewell. It seems like there's some printer error damage on this guy's helmet up top, right on the peak. Perhaps if I was more attentive, I could have used that green stuff. To gap fill it, and I'm pretty sure now it's too late. This is, yeah, it's not gonna be flexible enough to go in there. Maybe next time. Maybe if you just apply the paint so thick that it fills in those gaps. Francois suggests battle damage, eh? For there's two last bolts, right? Two laser blasts. It's possible. It's a good way to rationalize it. And Brother Titan says 20 thin coats ought to do it, eh? Well, I'll consider it. I feel like 20 thin coats is the is a good name for this stream. 20 thin coats. It's my style of painting for sure. Oh, right, I guess before I wrap up the stream, I should share the updates on this guy. So, for those who are unaware, I was thinking of converting this guy so that he has two sort of Monster Hunter style weapons. Going for that dual sword vibe, dual sword class in Monster Hunter. And in the search for suitable parts, I was reminded by, in part, by my Chapter Champions blade here, of the Iron Jaws AOS models. I don't think they're called Iron Jaws. But those big yellow orcs from Age of Sigmar. And my buddy Melon had a whole bunch of these weapons, right? Now, these are quite large. They're probably a pretty good size for just a power weapon, like just a power sword, right? Just cut it here, apply it to the blade hilt, and you got a real savage-looking, big old blade. But it's a bit large for a knife count as, right? So the options are to, I guess, I don't know, what are we feeling? What do you guys feel about shortening these blades? So we cut them at about here, I'm thinking, and affix them on. They're still thick without any other trimming. Even if I were to cut it at about this point, it's just a lot of mass. Like, it's a hefty looking weapon. What are the thoughts? What are the thoughts from chat on this possible route of kit bashery? Right, like even this is such a huge weapon. Jesus, absolutely huge. Or just really start whittling it down and just kind of working off of this blade edge. Maybe you can sort of cut it so it's just the edge. Then you have a weapon of much less mass, still kind of savage looking. That's an option too. I don't know, these are the issues I am grappling with. It's very serious. Because the model on its own is kind of nice. There is a charm to keeping the models as they come. This side could work pretty well, I think. The knife is larger here. This one's just tiny. I don't know, I'm hemming and hawing on it. I don't know if I want to commit to the change yet. Alternatively, I could just do an arm swap altogether. Or a hand swap, rather. Yeah, that's where that guy is. Patricia says, oh, Francois says, Nid Warrior Bone Swords. Yeah, I don't have any unpainted ones. I have some old bone swords from my old Tyranid scheme, which I could use, but they're also awkwardly large, and the aesthetic of these are more akin to, whoops, well, there, it's gone forever. There we are. The aesthetic of these ones are more in line with the Monster Hunter vibe, which I wouldn't really be able to get that from the Warrior Bone Swords. Not without a bit of work. Patricia Benjamin says, give him the head of blonde hair and a big ass Buster Sword. He can be Cloud Strife. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the chapter champion here is it's fairly evocative of the Greatsword, or the aesthetics of the Greatsword from Monster Hunter, which is in part what my Salamander successor chapter is sort of inspired by, or maybe not inspired by, it's not the right word, but it's certainly paying an homage to it. Dark Eldar swords, eh? Oh yeah, those could work. They have a bit of a... Yeah, I'll look into their power swords. I might actually have one kicking around. Good suggestion there, Francois. Good suggestion. Because they have those, they're not power swords. They're called, like, Dusk Swords or something, or... Husk Blades, I think. Yeah, and they have a pretty interesting aesthetic. I'll look into that, yeah. Very interesting. Very interesting. Okay. Well, anyhow, guys, I think that's a wrap on today's stream. Unfortunately, I have prior engagements. So I will have to bid you farewell, and probably no more streams for the rest of this week. Most likely. But maybe Sunday. Maybe. It'll be all impromptu, though. We'll have to see. It just depends on how weekend plans go. Patricia says, never played Monster Hunter. I feel too bad for the monsters just minding their own businesses. There's a bit of that. Some monsters are jerks, so it's not too bad, but some are definitely... You feel a bit bad for some, for sure. But, you know, people gotta live, so you gotta kill those monsters for their precious meats, and then feed the village. At least that's how it was in the older games. Anyhow, guys, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate everyone who chatted and gave the stream a like and shared in the hobby camaraderie. Where's my outro screen? There it is. The new and improved Wall of Honor. Very, very cool. All right, guys, I'll catch you in the next one. See ya!